awareness.
Variety tent at the Cannes Film Festival 2000, and we were very drunk as usual. And we're here because we want to meet the head of 20th Century Fox, because we want to show their new version of the X-Men at the Festival Film Festival.
Here we are at the Variety Club, very sober as usual, not having not touched a drink for years.
But you...
I did drink. I've taken over the PR for the Festival Film Festival. Hopefully getting stuck into that when we come back, when we get back from Cannes. Yes, really. So that's all I have to say for now.
Well, it's all turned digital now. Anyway.
Have you got anything to say, Colin? In the can?
Just that I'm happy I'm here. I wish I had had some sleep. I wish I hadn't ended up in Barcelona. The views are wonderful on all respects, and I'm looking forward to my first Portobello Film Festival in Cannes. I'm very excited.
Yeah, but pretty much the same, but I'm just pretty disappointed that the beer's this expensive.
I told you, buy the bottles of wine in the deli, only 70 pence, and then sit outside of the Petit Majestic.
I don't like wine.
And it's been used intermittently for the past 30 years or so since it was invented. But it seems like in the past 3 years, it's become quite popular. And in fact, there's a number of features playing at the festival now that have gone through this process. Most notably, probably Griffin Dunn's Famous was shot with a digital camera. Also, I believe Dancer in the Dark was also a digital film transferred out to film. Not ones that we did, but still good examples of sort of that process. Although in those cases, using relatively low resolution cameras. So you can see a lot of the artifacts of the video having gone out to film. There's one other film that I should mention. There's a movie playing here called Steal This Movie. If you go to see that, there's quite a bit of archival footage, records of Abby Hoffman from the 60s and a lot of the riots that went on. All that footage we transferred to high definition, cleaned up all the damage, and then recorded out to 35mm and tried to match it with the best of the rest of the movies you can. So if you want to see some examples of our work specifically, that would be a good movie to go and see. So what we've so intermittently we've been doing this. In the 80s there was a movie called Julia Julia, which was the first HD film done. There was a movie called Rainbow that Bob Hoskins did in '94. A movie by Renee Dahler called Habitat. And these filmmakers who could now shoot digital video for relatively cheap and come up with an entire movie that they then thought they could turn out to 35mm film. And there's several examples of that. The Celebration is probably the most famous one. Also The Cruise was done in a similar fashion, as well as The Infants also was another film that was done, shot on a very low resolution digital camera, transferred to 35. At the same time, high definition cameras, which used to be very expensive, the HD cameras that we had about 4 years ago cost us about $500,000 for the camera, and then probably another $400,000 for the recorder. So you're looking at about $1 million camera package there. All of a sudden, Sony has shrunk it to the size of a digital Betacam, and now selling the camera for $75,000. And so this was sort of another leap towards sort of making the technology more available, where people could go out and shoot digital movies and transfer out to 35. A couple of examples: Sorted Lives has been playing around at some of the festivals in the U.S. was shot this way. You also have I'm blanking on the film title. A couple others. There's not a whole lot, but there's been a couple of others. What's Eating Her, which I believe is playing at the market screenings around town, also went through this process. And so now we're seeing a lot of interest in that way. So now the video to film, or the digital to film business really is kind of picking up. And now this year we're sort of seeing the penultimate for doing digital to film recording, and that is the introduction of the 24p. So how do we do that? How do we take digital imagery and we go to out to 35? Well, the first step of the process concerns with dealing with the frame rate, which is not a problem with the new 24p HD, which is really nice. There we can just take one frame of video and make it into one frame of film. But for all other material, whether it's NTSC, PAL, or 60 interlace HD, we have to do a bit of a conversion process in order to convert it to 24 frames per second. For PAL, it's very easy. It's just a 1-to-1, and we just shift the time down to 24. For 60 interlace, or 30 frame per second material, we developed this field mixing algorithm known as the M mode that resamples the digital video every 1/24th of a second. So the video is running along, and we look at it here, and we say, what information exists here that we can turn into a film frame? There may be 2 fields of data, there may be 3 fields of data. It's going to sort of sample it and then combine it in order to make a film frame. And if you have motion on that frame, what it's going to do is it's going to recognize the fact that you have an object in motion and say, well, I'm going to combine this the best that I can to sort of simulate motion blur. So I'm going to make this little extra edge here where the hand is moving or whatever you have, whatever you're photographing, and make it a bit transparent so that when it's recorded out to film, it looks like motion blur. So that when it's played back at 24 frames per second, it looks like it was shot 24 frames per second. And this is very different than what every other place in the world does. Normally what you do is you remove every 5th field of information, which is what you'll find, and what we used to do until we developed this other process. The big problem with that is that it looks very choppy when you're just arbitrarily removing data like that. But once we have this 24 frame video that we've created, we're now going to run it through the EBR process, or electron beam recorder. And what this does is it takes the image and it writes it out as 3 separations on black and white film. What that means is that we have a very long roll of black and white, and it scans the image onto a frame of the red, frame of the green, frame of the blue. So it's just going to RGB, RGB, as all is black and white information. So we get this long black and white developed, and then we're going to run through a color step. There's probably red in between the two. And so what it's going to do, rather than leave just a blank space there, it's going to fill in the information with more red data. So the only place you really see sort of the limitations of the digital Betacam is on the edges, where you have different colors are sort of blending into each other, because there we can't do a full interpolation like we can for the rest of the image. Also, you'll notice on a lot of the motion sometimes in digital Betacam, you'll have some sort of a little bit of an aliasing effect. Again, that's because we can't do the interpolation perfectly, because we have disconcordiant information from one line to the next. So that is why we do the up conversion to HD.
It's got so big now, it's like more commercial than this. So what happened was, pardon? Exactly. So what happens now, about 5 years ago I think it was, all the people went there with little films underneath their arm and they couldn't show it, so a group...
Have you got anything to say, Colin?
I'm going to say yes, no, I've had a bit of sleep now, the beach is wonderful. Had a nice night last night, met some film producers and all that, first time lunatics, met one guy who just showed us film and decided he was a bit lonely, so took 2 E's. He was completely out of his mind. He kept saying to me, I'm not acting weird, am I? I'm not acting weird, am I? Like that, the whole night, I said, stop it, just stop doing it. People looking at me. But that was fun. It's all drinking drugs at the moment, I haven't actually seen any films.
And he's obviously high on heroin. Yeah. His girlfriend, he's been interviewed and he's fallen asleep.
Oh yeah.
Can't stay awake for a second.
What do you think so far, Ray?
I don't know. I thought the Sex Pistols film was good. That's the best thing I've seen so far.
How's the festival going?
I think it's brilliant.
Festival
I think we should try and make ours more like this. Bigger and better. Use all the local cinemas. As well as putting something on the
Tell you what you really should do, right? Because it's a slightly different league, I totally agree with you, but you should.
I didn't do too bad.
JB?
Okay, well we're not Le Crayon, and we're networking, and we're trying to get ourselves on the front cover of a local paper, right? We're here in Cannes, and what we're trying to do is make some money. We're trying to find a sponsor, right? And so we thought we'd come down to the Crayon, have a few beers, and we might find a sponsor down here, right?
We just met some very interesting people from Germany who've been involved in the Berlin and the Frankfurt Film Festival. And we made contacts with them and gave them our website so they could get in touch with us. We met a woman from Estonia. So hopefully we got some films.
Jésus arrive, ça va être la fin du monde dans moins de 30 secondes. Voilà, pardon. Voilà, super. Voilà. Illinois! Ah. Illinois! Samana Shabatane! Oh là là, bien. On revient. Encore. En français. Helion! Helion! On va mettre l'ambiance. Monsieur le frère, il y a le frère de Jésus. Il y a le frère de Jésus, attention qui passe.
That's right, isn't it? That's enough logo, Ed.
Yes, it's been very hot, very warm. It's getting too hot.
Have you got anything to say?
Well, we're now on the second to last day of our fortnight at the Cannes Film Festival. Portobello Film Festival comes to Cannes. We've been showing films for 4 hours every day for a fortnight. We've got a lot of interest. We've been filmed by London Weekend Television. We've been on the Cannes Market Television and we've made lots of good contacts. We've had a really good time. And we'd like to thank the council very much for paying for us to come here and giving us a bit of spending money.
Hey Ray, have you got anything to say?
Airports are bloody boring.
Well, here we go. We spent 2 weeks in Cannes and we come out of the hotel today about 2:30, 2:45 and we took a taxi to Nice about 3:30 and now we are in Nice and we got our flight until about 8 o'clock. And we got to wait here another 4 hours, sitting down, looking at this villas around here, taxis going around. We got to wait here until about 8 o'clock, and then we got to fly. And I'm boring, I'm bored. I spent here 2 weeks. I had fun, I had such a good time, and met people, producers, directors, actors, which is lots of actors begging me for the script, asking me if you got a script, I'll work with you, and you know, it's brilliant. And the weather, the weather is brilliant. The weather is brilliant. Yesterday I spent 4 hours swimming in the sea, and I had lunch, and you know, it was perfect for me. But we're going back to London now, and we got to wait here another. Well, now it's 5:30, and we got to wait here another 3 hours, 2 hours and a half. Sorry, 2 hours and a half. And I'm really happy about Portobello Film Festival in Cannes, which is give us some bit of movement. We are off the ground now, and things going moving step by step. And you know, I'm bored. I'm just talking about it. I'm bored. I just want to go home, see my family, see my house, and see my friends, and go back to the office, do some work, and then I have to go down to Morocco, make another film, which is brilliant, another movement. And I've got some contacts.